This is going to be a simple lesson, but one for you to come back to and say, how do I do that again? Depending on your fixture, you could have a few parameters or a lot of parameters. A small fogger, for example, might only have two, the amount of fog and fan speed. A simple LED light might only have three, red, green, and blue. But a fancy moving light could have 20, 30, 60 parameters. So it would be silly to create a screen for each of these. So instead, EOS creates a few flexible screens for you to interact with. You've already dealt with the color picker, so next I'd like to show you the moving lights display, or the ML controls, as it's called in the tabs. If you don't have any channels selected, this display here will just be a big black box. But if you click on a channel in the live table or select one on the command line, for example, if I do 4, enter, you'll see all the passable parameters organized in a standard group of moving light categories. So we have intensity, focus, color, form, image, and shutter. Clicking on any of these buttons will swing you over to that portion and scroll you over the window to that controls of that category. And by the way, of course, we only see the ones that are available to that fixture. Now you might notice a few things. The first and perhaps the most important button you'll see is this one that looks like a little home button. These exist for every parameter, every category, and even in the entire fixture. This will set the fixture's parameters back to the home values and release controls. This is kind of similar to the sneak command. So let's try it out by bringing channel 4 to full. And let's choose a cool color from the ML color picker. So I'm going to go over here, something nice like that. Now I'm going to press the home button above the red parameter. This is going to bring the value back to 100, not 0, which you might think. I'll explain that in a second. Now, try to press the home button under the entire color category. This will release all of the color values, returning them all to 100. Why 100? Which means all the colors are present, which means white. This is why it returns to 100, not 0. Finally, let's press the home button all the way to the left, which will sneak all values, this one right here. This time, the only one that was remaining is intensity, which will take this out. Now all the parameters are released. The next thing I'd like you to see are some of these wheels. This is a virtual representation of a physical scrolling wheel that you might find on a large physical light board. Does that make sense? Kind of helps if you can see one in real life. Anyway, trust me, it's a wheel. Here you can either click and hold and drag the wheel. And depending on how far above or below you are of the center line, the values will increase or decrease in small or large increments. But personally, I like to use my mouse wheel or the trackpad scrolling to scroll the wheel up or down. Simply hover your cursor over, woo, and scroll away. So try it out by selecting channel 4 and scroll up or down the intensity. Wheels also have a min button, which will bring the parameter all the way to its minimum value, and a max button, which will bring the parameter all the way back to its maximum value. You can try it out with channel 4's intensity. Min will bring it down to 0, and max will bring it all the way up to full. Another way a fixture might interact with EOS is by using option buttons. This is a way for the light board to display various options that are unique to the fixture itself. So select channel 4, we're going to set it to full, and we're going to press the form button, which will scroll you all the way to the edge of the window. All right, we can now press the bright strobe button, which will turn the light into a strobe. Kind of neat. Now we can also see that the strobe wheel here, we can change the frequency with which the strobes. So let's go all the way up to maybe something like a 5, and the fixture will start flashing. And we can stroll the strobe all the way that we want to for like different frequencies, faster or slower. I'm going to press the open button, and that will restore the strobe to being always on state. By the way, just a reminder, we could always hit the home button. Quick note, sometimes I've seen people get confused because the light just won't turn on. Sometimes it's because strobe is set to be closed, which means it's always off state. So if your lights just won't turn on, this could be why. Other buttons that are truly unique to the fixture will have no representation visually in augmented. For example, channel 4 has a cooling fan option. If you were to select off, the light stays on in the same color and the same brightness, but off in the distance somewhere in the virtual world, the fixture's cooling fan suddenly turned off. Woohoo! And the virtual fixture is overheating. Oh no! These can be largely ignored in visualization, but should be used and paid attention to in real life. Another quick trick to help visualize your ML controls. Sometimes you don't really care to see a certain feature set category of moving lights. You can always click on the minus button under any of the categories to collapse that area. Here I've minimized all of the categories now, and we can always press the maximize button to make them show again. We'll talk about the other options you might find in the ML controls in the next few lessons, but for now, here's one last little tidbit. Unless you're doing a lot of work with specific features of an intelligent light, you might not want to use all that screen space to always show the ML control display. In this case, you could use the ML controls pop-up. This can be found at the top right-hand corner of your screen with this little beam-looking icon right here, and it'll temporarily pop up the moving light controls in the same way that you can pop up the virtual keyboard. That's pretty neat.